I'm bringing you a Thanksgiving special, cooking up food in my kitchen for my family for this holiday season. I am Rebekah with Learning Together by Grace. I hope you guys enjoy this video and let's get going. So we're getting right into this video and I'm starting off with roasting some sweet potatoes. So I am going to be making a sweet potato casserole and I'm baking my sweet potatoes in the oven. I'm just poking some holes in them and adding some oil to them so that I can cook them for an hour in my oven. Next up, I am going to start cutting up some apples because I am going to be making an apple pie for my dessert. I don't know if you guys paid attention to the list that I had on my refrigerator, but I'm making apple pie. I'm also making pecan pie, some pumpkin spice ice cream, and a sweet potato casserole that can either be a dessert or it could either be a side dish, however you so see it. But I'm just adding in all of the ingredients to my pot. And I just want you guys to notice these adorable measuring cups and spoons that I got from Walmart. They are gingerbread men, women, and girl. I actually broke my tablespoon. It was so sad, but nonetheless, I still have the rest of them and they are so cute. So I am one of those people that likes to cook their apples on the stovetop before I add them to my pie crust. Some people, they will put the apples directly into the pie crust after seasoning them, but they don't cook them over the stove. I like a softer apple, so I do this. Now I am going to make my own pie crust for my desserts this go around. And so I'm making 3 pie crusts, 2 for the apple pie and 1 for the pecan pie. I am using salted butter, but I can be honest with you guys, I think I should have used unsalted butter because our desserts were a little bit on the saltier side because of those crusts. I have to be honest with you guys. Otherwise, it would have been good. I've made these pies numerous times, but this go around, because of that extra salt in that butter, it did make a difference. I have to say that I thoroughly enjoy making my pie crust from scratch. I know some people feel intimidated, and to be honest with you, I felt intimidated when I first began making my pie crust. But after just practicing over and over again, it got easier and it became very methodic for me, to be honest with you. So I do enjoy just touching and filling the dough. I guess it reminds me of Play-Doh. So I opt for doing my pie crust, and honestly, it does not take as long as you would think. So these are just going into the refrigerator for at least 45 minutes so that they can firm up before it's time for me to roll them out. So my pie filling is pretty much done here. And so what I'm doing, instead of adding cornstarch, I'm just taking the little pieces of flour and dough that was left over and using that to thicken up my pie, the inside part of my pie, the apple part of my pie. So that is a little secret. So my sweet potatoes are coming out of the oven and I'm just going to set them to the side and allow them to cool for about an hour before I start peeling them. Now I am going to be making my pecan pie, and I am actually going to make an agave pecan pie. I don't usually use cornstarch, and a lot of times I'll substitute either agave, honey, or maple syrup for my cornstarch. And so I've made a pecan pie using all three actually. I've never done honey before. But whenever you're using agave or maple syrup, you do have to do it a little bit different by heating up the syrup. So now I'm just adding in my melted butter, and then I'm going in with some vanilla extract as well as some salt and my pecans and mixing all of that together. I'm just whipping it. You can use a handheld mixer or a stand mixer for this. I just like using my whisk and just beating it, so it really is up to you. So I'm just going to roll out the dough for this particular pie crust as well. So all throughout my video, you'll kind of see my family. They pop in and out of the kitchen with me, and sometimes they're helping me with some of the tasks. So I'm not doing everything all by myself, but I do most of the cooking for Thanksgiving and any holiday for that matter. My husband will get in there and help out. You'll see in a little bit where he's doing that as well. All right, so I'm starting off first with putting the filling inside of the apple pie. And then I found this adorable rolling pin at Walmart. Or actually, no, I think this one was at Target. It was either Target or Walmart, you guys. I can't remember. But it does have the embossed leaves on it. And we use that to make an impression on the dough for the apple pie. My daughter wanted to roll that onto the apple pie crust, so she did that, and I'm just adding it to the top here. When making homemade pies, make sure you cut a slit to make the steam escapable. It needs to escape out. This is what the top of it looks like, you guys. All right, so now I'm rolling out the dough for my pecan pie, and we're going to get that all set into my baking dish. Just a little secret, you can go to the thrift store and find these wonderful Pyrex baking dishes. I found, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different Pyrex baking dishes from the thrift store for like $1 or $2. So do that, you guys. All right, now it is time for the sweet potato casserole. As you can see, I peeled all of those sweet potatoes. I had 6, probably some, they weren't like small, but they weren't necessarily medium. So maybe a medium. I had about 6 medium sized sweet potatoes for this recipe. And I am using, of course, eggs and some brown sugar, some melted butter, and some vanilla extract, as well as some salt. You'll see that I'm doing that with most of my sweet recipes. This particular one, I am adding milk to it because we want to make it a little bit creamier than the other two sweet recipes. But I am mixing all of that together, and then I'm going to add marshmallows on top of it once I get it into the baking dish. And I also made a pecan crumble. I did not show myself making this because it was a last minute decision and I did not turn the camera on for it, but that is okay. You'll see me adding it to the top here in just a little bit. All right, here are the sweet treats after they have finished baking. Don't they look lovely? All right, I'm just checking all of that stuff off. My son was the dishwasher for the night, and I tried to help him as much as I could because, you know, a lot of dishes are made when you're preparing big holiday meals. So now I'm just going in and cutting up my onion and celery for my cornbread dressing. My daughter's just having a nice little conversation with me as I go in and cook those vegetables that I just chopped up. And then my nephew was on the phone as well. They were doing a video call and we were just having a little family chit chat together. The holiday season is always fun for moments like that. I feel like they're so precious and it puts you in remembrance of what you are thankful and grateful for. All right, so now I am just going in and seasoning my onion and celery. I'm using some ground sage, some salt, some pepper, some garlic powder, and some onion powder to season it well. Whenever I'm doing a dish like this, especially, well, really anytime that I'm cooking, to be honest with you, I try to use the seasonings throughout every layer of my dish because if you want the flavor to really shine through, you have to season every layer. What you do have to be mindful of is the salt, how much salt you're putting in your dish. So every layer should only have a little bit of salt. All right, so I just crumbled up all of that cornbread that I made, and I'm adding in those vegetables and an egg and butter. There goes my daughter. She's about to get started on making her ice cream. But yeah, I'm mixing all of those things together, and this is actually going to be cooked the next day during Thanksgiving because I feel like dressings always taste better the day of. All right, so the flavors or seasonings that I'm using is onion powder, garlic powder, ground sage, black pepper, and salt. All right, here is Grace whisking up the milk and sugar and cream and adding in some vanilla extract. She's also going to add in some actual pumpkin puree because it wouldn't be pumpkin spice ice cream without some actual pumpkin. So for ice cream, our base is always 1 cup of whole milk. You can either do 1/3 to 1/2 cup of sugar, depending on your personal preference. And then you're going to mix that up really well. And then you're going to add 2 cups of heavy whipping cream and mix that. And then you want to add just a dash of salt and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So that's your base for every ice cream that you will ever make. That's just a basic vanilla, but once you add in other flavors and ingredients, that's what will make it that particular thing. So here it is in our ice cream maker, and you guys, yummy. All right, so now I'm getting started with a broccoli and rice casserole. This dish was requested by my husband. So I am going in with some rice. I actually have jasmine rice, so that is what I'm using, jasmine rice. And I'm just using some frozen vegetables that I had. I'm using salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. I used a lot of the same seasonings throughout my dishes, but I varied just a little bit by each dish. I'm also adding a little bit of bone broth. It's frozen, some bone broth that I made, and as well as some water, and we're just going to let that cook up. So now I am getting started on some sourdough dinner rolls that I actually started probably about 3 days ago. So they've been in my refrigerator just chilling and hanging out. But one of the beautiful things about sourdough is that you can allow your dough to ferment for about 3 days before it's just no good. And so the longer it ferments, the better it is for you, because those the gluten is getting broken down even further. So it's more beneficial for those that have gluten sensitivity. So I just pop those in that pan, and I'm allowing those to rise for about 2 hours. And then my husband ended up cooking those for me the night before, because I was tired and it was time for bed. And so my husband was up, and he's like, I got it, I'll cook it for you. So here I am mixing in some chopped onion into this rice casserole. And I also added in some butter, and then I'm going to add in some flour, and I'm adding in some milk, about 2 cups of milk, just to let you know that this dish needs milk. And then after that, I will add in my cheese and, it's cream cheese. And then I'll add in my cheddar cheese and my seasonings, and then I'll add in some mustard and just a little bit of coconut aminos. Now you can use Worcestershire sauce if you'd rather. I'm doing this because I am using this as a replacement for Cheese Whiz. I used to make this with Cheese Whiz, but I am trying to get away from using processed foods. And so I'm trying to learn how to, again, make things from scratch so that I am not using those processed foods, and I know exactly what's in my food. All right, so lastly, I am going in with some shredded cheese, and then we're adding this to the oven so that it can cook at 350 degrees for about 35 to 45 minutes. Happy Thanksgiving, you guys. So it is today, and I am starting off with the ham. So for my ham, it is not spiraled, so I cut it, and I usually get a non-spiraled ham because it's cheaper. And also I cook my hams in my crock pot. I've been doing this for several years now, because when you host holidays at your house, you run out of oven space when you're cooking a lot. And so your crock pot is a really good option. And so what I do is add a half a cup of brown sugar in between the slices. And yes, you guys, a whole jug of apple juice. Usually I like to use pineapple juice, but it was $8. So we went with the apple juice this time around. And then I'll add some butter, and I'll just put that on high heat. And I will cook that for about 2.5 to 4 hours, depending on the size of my ham. All right, now for the turkey. We did not buy a whole turkey, but we did turkey breast this year. Normally we'll do a whole turkey, but this year I was like, let's just do the turkey breast. My husband put salt and pepper on it last night and refrigerated it, but then I wanted to add some extra season so it can be smoked.
Hey, Rebekah.
Hey.
Not very bad. fire. Yeah. Get her 3.
You look all professional.
I watch a lot of YouTube videos. Probably throw some more wood chips on there. Yeah, definitely do that.
All right, now that I'm back inside, I am getting started with my macaroni and cheese, and I am adding my noodles to my pot. I really like this brand of noodles. I just started using this last year. I think it was actually for Christmas last year. I couldn't find any other elbow noodles, and this brand was available, but they are a non-GMO brand, and I really like it. I've only seen them in Texas grocery stores, so I don't know if it's just a Texas thing. But nonetheless, I added some oil to keep them from sticking and a little bit of salt. Now, my son, he is going to be shredding my cheese as I do everything else for my noodles. Of course, he had to give me his little silly face. He loves messing with me. We joke around a lot. All right, I'm going in with some butter, and then I'm going to add some flour, and you're kind of making a roux for those of you that may not have made homemade macaroni and cheese. So the flour and the butter, of course, create a roux inside of your noodles, and you're going to make a sauce. And then I'm using whole milk, lots and lots of whole milk to make my cheese sauce, and just mixing all of that together. And then I will go in and season it. I'm actually going to be using some, oh, I forgot about the egg. Yes, I always use egg. It kind of gives it a little bit of a fluffier texture. I can't explain it, but trust me, it does. All right, so now I'm going in with some of this potato slayer seasoning. Y'all, I really like this seasoning, and I use it in different dishes. It doesn't matter what I'm cooking. I'll use it because it just has a really good flavor. I'm also using some cracked black pepper as well as some salt and some garlic powder. And so after this, I will mix this well and then add in all of my cheese until it mixes up. And then I am going to add it to a cast iron pot, and you guys are going to see what I do after that. Right here, my son is asking me if I want to eat the Gouda cheese. It was smoked Gouda cheese, and I said no. Put it away, please. All right, so here I am adding it to my cast iron skillet, and it is one of my larger cast iron skillets that I'm using for this. And then I'm just going to add the cheese on top of that. And for this particular mac and cheese, I decided to add it to the smoker with the turkey. I figured smoked Gouda, smoked macaroni and cheese. I wanted to see how it, went. And yeah, you guys will know in a bit. All right, now we are finishing up those dressings from yesterday. I took them out of the refrigerator to warm up, get to room temperature for about an hour. And now I'm using that potato slayer in that. And I didn't use that last night when I seasoned them. I'm also going back in with all of those other seasonings, the ground sage, the onion powder, the garlic powder, the salt, and the pepper. And so, as I said before, I like to layer my seasonings on. Now, when it comes to dressing, I'm going to tell you with cornbread dressing, honestly, even with stuffing, when you use like the breads to make your stuffing, they really can hold a lot of seasoning. So be mindful of that so that your dressing or stuffing doesn't come out bland. All right, so I'm just going in and kind of ladling some of that juice on top of my ham because I just want to make sure that it doesn't get dried up on top. I even flip it over to the other side so that the other side can get marinated as well. I did this about 3 times. All right, so my daughter requested just some regular steamed broccoli. She really likes broccoli and she didn't want the broccoli and rice casserole, so I said, okay, I'll make you some steamed broccoli for Thanksgiving. She actually asks for this every holiday season, so I try to put this on the menu for her. All right, you guys, so the next dish that I am making is some homemade cranberry sauce. I do this every year, but this year, you guys, this is the only thing that I burnt this year. And I was like, this is the last thing that I was cooking, and it burnt. And so what ended up happening is I went into my bedroom and I forgot to put it on low, in which usually I will cook it on low, but for some reason I kept it on 4 or 5, and yeah, it ended up burning, but nonetheless, it was okay. So this is how everything looked after we got done cooking. You guys, everything turned out pretty good, except for those cranberries that got burnt, but they were still fairly tasty. And here are the rolls. There's the cranberries, y'all. And the pies, which were a little salty. Like I said, that sweet potato casserole and that ice cream, y'all, it was so divine.
Hey everybody! Aren't you grateful? No, aren't you grateful?
Happy Thanksgiving from my family to yours. Yay! Thank you so much for watching every week, you guys. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when I post a new video. God bless you and happy holidays.